Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach, and I am here with my playing partner, the one and only Andrew Hansen. How are you today, Andrew?
Good, thanks. Yeah, thanks for handling golf last week when I was out of town, and glad to be back, ready to get after it here and shoot some low scores out in California.
Yeah, they were tearing up the course last week, too. It was ridiculous. Eagles, birdies, like they were going out of style. It's unreal, but I think we're going to get some more of that this week. And we had a pretty good week last week. We cashed some lineups, had some different guys go off. I mean, when you have guys shooting 61, it definitely helps pump up the DFS points. But this should be a fun one this week. We've got the American Express, and it's the main course that is the PGA West Pete Dye design course, the stadium course. But of course, this is that wacky one where they play at PGA West. Then as far as the Dye course, then they play the Nicklaus course there, and La Quinta is also the third course. So it's a 54-hole cut, which I don't know, do we see that more than twice all year? I think is it.
Yeah, it's become pretty rare.
Yeah. So that throws a little twist into it too. But it's a beautiful course. They're going to go low. The average winning score the last 2-3 years is right around 24 under. So we're back in that crazy low scoring, fun fest. But should be a great tournament.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. We have a lot of the big names back in a full field event. And yeah, if you go back, even a little further, 6 years back, that's when they started playing on these three courses specifically again, because this tournament has a long history. Sometimes they played 5 rounds, but in those last 6 years, the winning score has always been between 20 under and 26 under. And there have been some ultra low scores. You mentioned 61. Cantlay has the record on the stadium course with a 61, and there have been 59s shot at the other two courses, which are two of the easiest courses these guys play all year, La Quinta and the Nicklaus course. And then we've got some weather this week, Coach. Not big weather like we talk about, but a little bit of a strategy that I've been tinkering with here is looking at the wind and trying to zero in on the guys who've got the optimal playing conditions on the really easy course here, La Quinta.
Yeah, and I think that's always key. For those people that play the day by day contests, man, you really have to pay attention to that because
Absolutely.
they shoot way lower. La Quinta, La Quinta, I can't say it, man.
Yeah, La
La
Quinta, I think.
Quinta.
Yeah.
They play shoot lower scores there than they do the other two. So if we provide here at Coach Talk the lineup tonight for the whole tournament, then we'll jump back in Friday night and provide it for the weekend only. But there are a lot of folks that play day by day. So knowing exactly what course they're on is paramount in making those day-to-day plays. But they're going to go low everywhere, but La Quinta especially low. And like you said, if their winds change, and we'll be, keeping up with our group in Discord and talking about that throughout. But the other thing is where you take some of our value play shots, and you're so good at that, Andrew. You don't have to panic about only getting 2 rounds out of them. You're going to at least get 3. So that helps you take a little more risk with some of those guys because all you're going to lose is 1 round. Still, it's imperative if you want to take something down, but it certainly isn't the same kind of stress of getting a cut after 2.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's key here is you don't feel quite as bad if you miss the cut. Obviously, we're going to try to make the cut with all 6, but you get that extra round for sure. And, just a reminder here with the 3-course rotation in this event, they're playing with the amateurs for those 3 rounds. So everybody plays each course once, and then they'll be back at the stadium course on Sunday, which is the hardest of the 3. So looking at the wind patterns, especially if you're playing round by round, that's what you want to pay attention to is who's playing where on which day. And I'm looking at, almost no wind and really nice weather on Thursday. So that's why I'm zeroing in on the guys who are playing La Quinta on Thursday. And then the winds are supposed to be more like 12, 13 miles an hour Friday, Saturday. So that's my general strategy right now, is to look at guys who are going to get off to a great start at La Quinta in the great conditions, and get a little bit of an edge that way.
And I'll tell you, the other thing in when I was doing my preparation here, I think it's a really important nuance to mention this week. And it's something that most people don't talk about because we don't see it as much as just spectators watching the game. But when there's a pro-am, it's a completely different animal. I mean, these guys that get out there and they just fire through, and they're playing 2.5 hours, they're playing 18 holes. I mean, they're just going right through the course. When you're playing with these amateurs, they're 5-hour rounds, and there's patience, and you get out of your groove. And I mean, it's a big difference. So in some of the preparation and guys I'll recommend, I went back and looked at, the different pro-ams like Pebble Beach and stuff, and see who, can play better, because it makes a massive difference. Like, I don't know if you caught that this weekend. I know you were traveling, but Taylor Gooch was squawking about how Kevin Na was playing so slow and he couldn't get into a rhythm and all of that kind of stuff. Well, if he thinks that was slow, wait till he gets with some of these amateurs that are hacking around the course. So, guys like that, that makes a difference. And when it's razor thin, if it's one shot per day that affects, literally, that's going to be the difference in cashing or not.
Yeah, I think that's huge, important piece right there to consider. And along the same token, I'm looking a little bit more at who's paired with whom this week. And if you know about guys who get along well and like to be with each other, that's key here, because they're going to be relaxing, talking. If they're more social, they're probably going to play better. So you get like these random pairing. One of the pairings I'm looking at with some value is Pat Perez and Higgs, because I saw them do a show together on the Golf Channel a few weeks ago. So
Nice.
you can tell that they're close, they're social, they're outgoing. Everybody knows Higgs as a social media star.
Yeah.
But you get guys like that who are cheaper, who've had some success here, who are comfortable playing with each other. I agree. I think it gives you a little bit of a boost.
It does. And the last thing I'll mention, then we'll get into this, is last year the amateur part of it was canceled because of COVID. So when I looked at the last 5 years, like, I try not to go back too far because things change so much, but a good recency 5-year study, I counted last year a little less, just a little less, because you didn't have that amateur thing. You were able to fire right through and not worry about it. So just something to keep in mind, if you're doing your own research and preparation.
Absolutely.
All right, let's start off with a couple of things here. I want to throw to you the top 5 finishers the last 3 years, and I'm going to include last year too, even with that caveat of no amateurs, and just wanted to get your initial take on some of these guys. And I will say this, a couple of things to remember here. It's pretty wide open. Maybe the fairways aren't quite as big as they were, but there's not much penalty going into the rough. There really isn't. So it's the bombers, and then having that nice approach shot so that you have a makeable eagle or birdie putt is what the key is. By the way, did you see Matsuyama's hole in the
That was
last one?
clutch. I mean, and the fact that he basically did it staring into the sun.
He couldn't see where he was hitting the ball, and he
Right.
hit the ball within 2 feet
Incredible.
for eagle. Craziness. But so you're going to get some bombers in there again, but not just bombers. You have to be able to, those approach shots are going to be so crucial, because the greens will be very nice to putt, and if you can get yourself close enough, you're going to be set. The defending champ, by the way, is Siwoo Kim, so he'll be the first one on the list here. Here's the 5 guys. Tell me if somebody jumps out to you, Andrew. It's Kim, Cantlay, Cam Davis, Finau, and Answer.
Yeah, Cantlay and Answer jump out at me there. Cantlay obviously had a great start to the season in Hawaii in the Tournament of Champions. He had that great finish last year that you're referencing, and even if you discount it a little bit because it was last year without the Pro-Am, he did finish top 10 in 19.
Yeah.
So Cantlay is one of my pay-up options to consider this week. And then Answer has had a real strong history here. I think you're going to mention him again soon.
Yeah.
He's in the mix for me.
Yeah. And, Answer, he didn't seem to have it all together in Hawaii. So I know once he gets in California, he usually perks up a little bit. So I agree with you there. I think, we'll see. And Cantley's going to be one. I don't know how chalky he's going to be, but I know he'll be a highly played guy in DFS this week. There's no doubt about it. All right, 2 years ago, which I consider the most important one right now, a weird one though, you had Landry win it with Answer, Scheffler, Straka, and Hoagie.
Yeah, Landry, one of the value plays who's had good success here. He finished second back in 2018.
Did I go too many years back?
No, I'm just
Oh,
saying
okay. I'm
because you
good.
were going to
Yeah.
go over the last 3 years, right? So 4 years
Gotcha.
ago, he also finished second. I just want to add that on top of it. And he's a value play.
Okay.
He hasn't played yet. So, some of these guys, how do they perform if they haven't played yet in Hawaii? He seems to have figured it out here in years past. So, he's on my radar just because he seems to really like this course.
You're going to love this stat. I went deep this week, man. 8 of the last 10 guys that have won this tournament have played at least one of the tournaments in Hawaii. Isn't that an interesting stat?
Makes sense. Really makes sense to me.
They're sharpened up. I mean, you can practice all you want, but when it's the tournament you're playing, it's a whole different animal.
And that's the thing with Scheffler that I'm thinking about,
And
because
Zalatoris too.
And Zalatoris, who hasn't even played this course before, so that there's the question mark for those guys.
Yeah, and then the last group is Long, Hadwin, Mickelson, your buddy, Gooch, who I just mentioned, and some guy by the name of John Rahm.
Yeah, Hadwin's the guy I want to focus on because you keep going back before that, and he has a tremendous course history here. Finished second in 17, just peppers the top 10. I'm not even top 20. He peppers the top 10 on this course for some reason. Good ball striker, good price. I like him a lot.
Another guy that hasn't played in Hawaii though. So
that's true. Exactly.
Got to dust the clubs off. But you're right. I mean, recency is one thing, but the court, how they play on that course, we've said it a million times. Different courses for different horses. It just, and golf is such a mental game. You're comfortable somewhere, you play well there. You struggle once, but then we have the unknowns. Maybe Zalatoris is going to love this course. Who knows?
Right.
That's the fun part, and the variance with golf, man. It's not an easy one to play DFS wise. You just can give yourself the best chance, and then you have to let it roll from there.
Yeah, enormous variance, especially early in the season. By the way, I want to mention, I think it's important to stay light with your investments here the first month. Let's see these guys in action.
Right.
We're gonna play because we're doing our research and we're gonna try to take advantage of the edge. But I'm focusing a little more on cash games here early in the season and playing a little bit lighter, and really watch these guys and see how they're doing here in the new season as they're getting in the groove. Guys dealing with injury, COVID, you name it. So that's my thought here.
Well, and we've only had a couple tournaments with full fields. I mean, once we get through this one and maybe next week, you could sort of see where things are going. And then you've got, we're always going to follow this. You've got those guys that play well in Hawaii. Then we got this California and Arizona swing where we see, we know who's going to play, who generally plays well there. Then the Texas swing. But by the time we get to Florida, that's what, in about a month and a half, 2 months. Once we're in Florida, we've seen everybody play different courses, different styles. That's what I usually do when I'm playing PGA DFS is January, February, maybe the first week of March. I'm feeling it out, playing it, trying to make some profit. And then really once people are serious, it's in Florida, they're starting to prepare for the Masters. Everybody's playing everything. You can let it fly at that point.
Yeah, you get some big tournaments then, including the Players. So I agree. That's a key month with big tournaments, everybody trying to peak for the Masters.
Definitely. All right, why don't you grace us with your wonderful statistical follow here and see what we can look at and who we can pinpoint for some key plays.
Yeah, so this week I looked a lot at the par 5 scoring because if you look at the winners from the last 3 years that you just went through, they all finished in the top 5 in that stat for the week, par 5 scoring. And it makes sense here since you have to get in the 20 under range to win, to take advantage of those par 5s and score. So I looked at the rankings from last year, par 5 scoring, guys who are going to play this week. And actually, this list happens to be on PGAtour.com. And so it's kind of convenient. You can look there. Lots of times, if I pick a stat, you have to double check, okay, who's high in this category, who's playing this week.
Right.
Now, they've got it listed for us, guys in the top 40 from that stat from last year who are playing. But the thing I added was who of these guys are playing on La Quinta in round 1.
Okay.
So I'll go through the list there and mention that. A lot of them are, including the 3 big names at the top for par 5 scoring, Rahm, Cantley, and Zalatoris. All get that easy first track on La Quinta on Thursday. So they get an edge for me right off the bat there.
Nice.
Then we've got one of my favorite value plays, guy we've talked about a lot, Brian Harmon, coach. Great course history here. 7,900 on DraftKings. He's not playing La Quinta, but he has a tremendous course history here, and it's actually his birthday today. Happy birthday,
Wow.
Brian. Maybe that plays into it a little bit for him. He just every year on his birthday week, he contends.
Could be.
So keep an eye on him. And then Scheffler, another pay-up option, great on the par 5s. Ortiz, 8,200. Now, this is a player who hasn't played since November, dealing with a bit of an injury to his left shoulder. So, he's more on the outside looking in for me. He's one of those guys I'd like to see if he's healthy.
Sure.
Here's a value play. Lahiri at 6,400. I know you've played him in the past. He hasn't
I
played
like him.
since.
On a
Yeah.
ball, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last couple events in November, he missed the cut, but
Tell me about it.
yeah, but decent course history here. In 16 and 17, he was top 30. So for a guy that's 6,400 to regularly make the cut here and be good on par 5s, I've got my eye on him. He's playing La Quinta round 1. Then there's a group of 4 guys who are not playing La Quinta round 1. That's Luke List, Hank Lebiota, Sungjae Im, and Patton Kizzire. Luke List, last 2 events in November, he was 10th and 11th. So is he a guy that finished the season, the calendar year well and comes in here hot, or is he rusty? But he finished 21st here last year. So he's a mid-tier option to consider. And then Hank Lebiota, I want to mention him because he kind of had a strange summer last year. We remember he was really hot, and then
all over the place.
Yeah, and then he kind of got derailed. He wasn't doing much. And if you just see, oh, he missed the cut last week, maybe I don't want to play him. But he was 4 under last week, so he missed the cut just barely, playing well. 6,700 on DraftKings. He was 17th here last year. So maybe he, with a tournament under his belt, is going to be back to his, strong form from last year when he was hot.
Yeah. I mean, sounds to me like a GPP guy that could really score it for you. But I know when the wheels came off a little bit last year, they really came off. But
exactly.
We'll see if he's able to pull it back together there. Excellent. Yeah. I like that. And checking out when we go over some of the guys I'm looking at too. I looked at that and strokes gained approach too, like I mentioned before, because I think being able to just blast it and then have an iron in to these greens that you can control, if you can put that ball close, they're going to be rolling it and scoring low, and it's going to take a bunch of birdies and a bunch of eagles again. It was funny 2 weeks ago. I don't know if it was who it was. I had 2 guys. One of them on the weekend went 62-61. Can you imagine shooting 123 for 2 rounds of golf?
Was that for like 14 holes or 18?
It's amazing, and didn't win the tournament though. Right. That's the funniest part about it. And so I don't know if we're going to see quite that here, but we could, we could have that kind of finish. So you're never out of it. If you get hot and run some eagles in there, you're going to be in it. So that is the fun part about, no lead is safe here. It's pretty open. But
Yeah.
let's hit some odds here. I'll go in sections with you. Just do a bit of a top 25 at a time. That seems to have really worked for us the last time we're able to pull 2 or 3 key guys out of this group. And Vegas knows their stuff. So plus, I also wanted to mention, I noticed what I think DraftKings did, and I'm shocked by it, to be honest with you. I thought Rom was underpriced, and I thought Cantlay was a little underpriced. Did you notice that?
For this week?
Yeah.
Well, I guess I wasn't looking at it like that because they're, I mean, 11-3 and 10-9, you
I
know.
don't think that's high enough. I think those
No.
two, and the reason I mention that, I think they should be 12 something and 11 something. And the reason I say that is, I mean, the course history here, the way they're playing, and the Vegas odds, they are heavy chalk in Vegas. John Rahm is 6-1. Patrick Cantlay is 9-1. And the next guy is third is 20-1. So when you have two chalk guys like that and two guys that love this course, that are playing great golf, to me, even though they're priced high, they're not priced as high as I think they should be. It's almost like when they can't get Giannis priced high enough, or LeBron or whatever. And yeah, you're paying 11 or 10 or whatever, but it's their literal value. Or the Joker, there's a few times he should have been like 13.5 and he's like 11.6. You know what I'm saying? So I sort of felt that way about Cantlay and Rahm. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I could see them being priced a little higher. I guess the way I feel about it is as I'm building these lineups, and I had Cantley in, and then some of my mid tier guys, and it was one of those builds where I was always 100 or 200 short on finalizing the roster on what I want to do this week. So
Yeah.
they feel a little high to me. I wish they were just a little bit cheaper. Although, yeah, they could be higher with the reasons you mentioned.
Well, trying to put both of them in is brutally tough. But I'm telling you, I won't have a lineup that doesn't have one or the other. I just think they're the two best players in this field, and a oodle of statistics, and now Vegas really confirming that, of just saying, hey, these two guys are the guys to beat. And, I feel really good about it. I think that those two are strong. So anyway, that aside, after Rahm and Cantley at 6 and 9-1, you've got M at 20-1, Finau 20-1, and Scheffler 20-1. See what I mean, though? That's not a Justin Thomas, or what I'm saying. That's a big drop.
It's a big jump in the odds, no doubt. Yeah, I don't think I'd want to bet those guys to win at those odds.
Right.
But I do
No,
want to mention his last 3 events here: tied for 12th, tied for 10th, tied for 12th.
that is good.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, he was chalk, though, recently here, and just did not play well. He shot
Mm.
over par when everybody else was shooting in the low 60s.
Yeah, that was surprising.
I know it. All right, this next group, the guy that one of my favorites this whole season, you'll see he'll make a ton of my lineups. 25-1, Corey Connors. Then Taylor Gooch, who was crying about the slow play, so that concerns me with the Pro-Am. The guy you already mentioned, and I agree with Abraham Answer, 28. Matthew Wolff, look out for the Wolf, 33-1. And I'll tell you what, I watched this guy more than any other golfer last week, and I was so impressed with his game. Seamus Power. How about that? He's the 10th favorite to win this tournament at
I know.
33-1.
No longer the sleeper value play of years past.
Nope.
Really stepping it up. Yeah, that jumped out at me when I saw his price tag on DraftKings at 9,500. I mean, he's arrived now to be a top 10 price on a full field event like this.
Yep.
That's legit.
And he's playing it. He's backing it up. I don't know if you got to see much of it, but he was hitting great shots, great putts. The only thing about him that I noticed, he's a little fiery. He doesn't quite keep those emotions in check. So I think when he's hot, it's awesome. But if he gets a little south, I think it could go bad pretty quick.
Right.
So just something to keep in mind. Any of those guys in your initial build?
No, just because
No?
of where they fall in the price range. Because if I go up to somebody like Cantlay, then I'm going mid tier because I want to be strong across the board. So tough to get one of those guys in. But Connors, yeah, I know you were on him last week. He was solid, and he's going to make a lot of my lineups this year as well.
And I'll tell you, I've got that plugged in my head that, guys winning in these events initially in California, a real high percentage of them played at least one round in Hawaii. That's something that I'm going to consider if I'm torn between two guys for sure.
Yep.
I have a feeling you're going to like this group. Russell Henley, 33. Patrick Reed, 40. Siwoo Kim, the defending champ, 40. Cameron Tringali, 50. And Ricky Fowler, 50. Why is Ricky Fowler more of a favorite in this than guys like Will Zalatoris? I don't get it.
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess it's just because of Fowler playing here. Last 2 years, he was 21st and 10th. And the exciting thing for him is he's a father now, and he hasn't played since becoming a father in the fall. So there's the wild card for him. We'll see how he does. I have some interest in him. And the rest of the group, they're usually interesting guys for me. The thing with Reed, though, is I can't quite figure out what I want to do with him because he's in that tier, he's a better price.
Right.
And he really finished strong at the Tournament of Champions. He had that bad first round, but then he was low throughout the rest of the tournament. But his course history here is kind of spotty. He did finish tied for 12th back in 17, but he hasn't played it every year. He's missed the cut, and I'm just surprised that he hasn't played better here. So, kind of on the fence with that group.
It's hard, man. Reed is such a boomer bust guy. He is really tough to figure out. But, I mean, Siwoo Kim, defending champ, I think that carries some weight. He definitely likes the course, so could be a decent group. This group's interesting, too. You've got, and this will be the last group we'll do because then it goes pretty deep here. But I do want to mention a few guys later, but we'll do that. So Zalatoris is 55 to 1. Which I think is a big price for a guy with that much talent. Again, hasn't played the course. Rose, 55. Brisenhout, 60. Svensson. This was the guy I thought, and again, we haven't spoken beforehand. I figured Adam Svensson was going to be one of your targets this week. See if I know you that well. That's 60 to 1. Your buddy Hadwin, 66 to 1.
Yeah, haven't been on Svensson, but
what?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I guess he has the edge that he played last week and played well.
Yeah.
But I was gonna lean more towards his Canadian brethren in Adam Hadwin, the guy who just Adam Hadwin just dominates this course.
He does. I love it, the pick, but I'll tell you, I dug in on Svensson because I didn't know that much about him and watched him play some. I'm really into this guy. I think he's got some serious potential and can be a top 20 guy here. He's top 20 in the odds, so why can't he get there?
Yeah.
So
nice call.
Anybody else though stand out there, or are you going more with some of the lower price guys?
Yeah, I like some guys that are just in that next tier, so not as much from that group.
Okay. I'll give you a couple of my guys that I'm keen on today, or for this week, and tell me which you can tell me, share me what you think of them, and then certainly I know everybody tunes in for your value picks every week. But here's another guy I watched last week. The amazing thing is I watched Michael Thompson play golf, and he had no facial hair, no mustache, no beard. He's got this big ass beard. I don't know if you saw him play, but it's like this long. It is so cool looking, and he was tough. He was playing some nice golf, great control of his irons, putting the ball really well. He may make a lineup or two of mine, not just because of the cool ass beard, but because he's playing some really good golf. So what do you think of Thompson?
Yeah, I dug in on him a little bit because of that strong performance last week. The one drawback for me is he's been ranking in like the 140th range in the par fives.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm hesitating a little bit with him.
Yeah.
But he is one of those guys. He'll just come out of nowhere, have a top 10. So,
yeah. Boomer bust, but
his
price is pretty good. So I like that. The other guy, this is a sneaky guy. I normally don't play him, but I like the way he played at the end of last year. And he's a vet. He's played this tournament a lot, and that's Alex Noren. Noren, I think, he doesn't get much play. His price is good. He's in the middle of the odds there, 70-ish to 1 to win it. Just, one of those guys that moseys along, makes cuts. And, I don't know if he's going to win the tournament, but I think he can get through that 54-hole cut and be a nice add-on guy to some of my studs I'm putting in there.
Yeah, I like Noren is solid, cash option, usually pretty steady. He hasn't
Right.
played since November, but yeah, I like his game in general. He's always, you feel pretty solid when you add him to the lineup.
He's a good ball striker. He seems like the kind of guy, and again, this is just me watching the game and seeing these guys, but he just seems like a guy that, even though he hasn't played, probably comes in very fit, very polished, very practiced. He just seems very articulate in that style of his game. You can tell the guys that just grip it and rip it, and the guys that are just really students of the game. And, if you're coming out after being off for a while, plus he's no baby, he's been around for a long time. So just a guy I thought I'd throw in there. So what do you got for us on the big names we can plug in to make our lineup work?
Yeah, so, the guys we've covered so far, some of the cheaper ones, Harmon, Hadwin, of course. We mentioned Lebiota, who's really cheap on DraftKings as a potential play.
Yeah.
One more guy who was strong in par fives last year, who's a good value, is Vince Whaley. He's only 7,100 on DraftKings, top 20 last week. And then again, Knox is matched up with Lahiri, round one at La Quinta. And Lahiri's only 6,400. So if you really want to go and consider something like a Rahm Cantlay pairing and you need a couple value guys, then hopefully those will help you cash this week.
And I'll tell you, I am tempted to do it because I get that extra free round, even if they're not going to make the, because really, I mean, let's face it, if you have two guys or so miss the cut and they're only getting half the tournament in 2 rounds out of the 4, you're pretty much dead.
Yep.
But, you could survive it with 54 holes. So, I think if you're going to go stars and scrubs, maybe this week it's enhanced to do that. Because even if a guy wouldn't normally have made the cut, you're going to get those extra points. And what do if you get 15, 16 extra points for that third round that you wouldn't have gotten, that's a lot to take advantage of.
Yeah, usually in a regular event, it feels like if you have 2 guys miss the cut, you're probably only going to cash if one of your 4 guys wins.
Right.
Maybe a second and another top 10.
Or 2 top 10s, whatever. Yeah.
But if you have 2 guys miss the cut here with the extra round, I agree. It kind of cuts that penalty in half, and you don't have to win it with one of your 4 to cash.
Yeah. And the reason I like your par 5 scoring is you get a bunch of points for eagles. You throw a bunch of eagles on the board, you can stomach a couple of bogeys. So that's a great stat to look at as well. But outstanding, man. Anything else you've got?
I think that covers it for this week.
Excellent. Glad to have you back. Hopefully, our listeners didn't think you were out on the golf course and missed our tee time last week. But we made it work, and Cash just setting it up for this week to get hot. Hopefully this California run. I remember last year we had a good stretch in California where we got super hot. So maybe this is the time we start right now this week. So definitely, if you want to join us, it's dfscoachtalk.com. We have several different memberships to sign up for. And whenever you sign up with us, you get everything that we offer, all of our sports. Certainly a great time if you're going to join for a week. It's $25, 3 days, $10. But if you join for the week, get all of our NBA action every day. 13 games slate today. Hey, Andrew, by the way, yeah, good job covering yesterday's NBA podcast with 2 games.
2 big ones.
And then I get 13 today.
Yeah. Well, that's how we like it. You like the bigger slates. I like the smaller ones better.
Yeah, that's true. And then, but you get all of that NBA action, the NFL playoffs, what great games this weekend. Can't wait for that. And then our PGA's going. And then hopefully, baseball gets started. I'm getting worried. They're talking about striking. So hopefully that doesn't happen. And we'll be able to give you our full baseball stuff too. So again, not now if you sign up for the 3-day or the week, but if you take advantage of our 4 sports special, the day you sign up, if you signed up today or next week, you get from the day you sign up all the way through the NBA playoffs, which is June 16th, that ends. So you get all 4 sports at that time. Granted, baseball gets going. So we'd love to have you join us. If you want to catch us on Twitter, you can catch any of us at DFS Coach Talk. Andrew is at Language Olympic, and I am at Joe Sarvadi, JoeSarvadi. All right, Andrew, enjoyed having you back this week. I know we're going to fire up this California swing. We'll be with you every Wednesday for that podcast, and we're really hoping to get hot. So any final words?
No, thank you. Yeah, let's get after it.
All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really enjoyed spending this time with you. Hopefully you catch our basketball pod that's up. We'll have some excellent football pod coming up too this week. So, and we'll be back again next week for sure to cover this PGA DFS, and we will be looking to crush it in DFS.